All right, we can get started now. I've got both cameras loaded. Okay. So, back to English. I was here last week. Obviously, we talked about some grammar and then we did some practice. Hoping you guys are still looking over that punctuation cheat sheet we made the first time I was here. And then today, I really want to just focus on practicing. Most of the time, we're going to spend practicing, but I do want to mention just a couple of general rules. Turned off, yes. Okay, some general rules, some just like test taking strategies that, I mean, obviously you have strategies for every test. Like, I mean, if there's a bubble not filled in, fill it in. Like, even if you don't know the answer, they're not going to fault you for guessing. But these things are really specific just to the English test that maybe you don't know because, oh, this color, I don't know if they're going to be able to see that online. Yeah, these things are really specific to the English test because probably not going to see them. You won't think about these things on the other test. And the first, and I think most important, is trust yourself. I hope all of you speak English if you're in this class. But you speak English, you read English, all this stuff every single day. So I know this goes against what we've been talking about. Obviously, we learned all those punctuation rules and those grammar rules to go the other way. But if it comes down to it and you don't know, is there a rule, is there this, is there that, whatever, trust what sounds right. Trust yourself. You speak English, I promise you know what feels right. So some of the times it's just going to be a feeling and you'll know, okay, that one. But obviously, if you know a rule, then don't do this. But if you really don't know anything and you have no idea, don't just guess randomly. Just pick the one that sounds best and trust what you know. Another helpful thing here is this rule, less is more. That pretty much, we call it the economy rule. That pretty much means like the least complicated answer is most of the time the right one. Especially this comes in handy when you have two answer choices that both seem correct. You want to pick the one that is more concise, like just easier, maybe less stuff in it, less words. And a big example of this, I don't know if we've seen this together in class, but I'm hoping you guys are seeing it when you are doing your own practice tests and practicing by yourself. But there'll be times where there'll be like an underlined word, and the question will be like, hey, the author's considering deleting this phrase or whatever. Like, that's another thing. And sometimes it might have a word underlined where it'll give three, or I guess no change, alternative word, and then delete the whole thing is option D. And that's a huge example of less is more, where sometimes it might sound right even to have a word there, but if the sentence makes sense without that word there, just automatically pick that one. So we're always going to go obviously grammatically correct and follows the rules first, but second, most concise. And then this third little trick we're going to talk a little bit more about, but this is another important thing, that when you're reading those passages, read for style and tone. Now those are typical buzzwords that I'm sure your English teacher says all the time, and you still don't know what they mean, and I don't either. I don't care that you know what they mean, but your book gives like a bunch of different definitions. It says style and tone are like crazy different things, and you have to know the difference, but there's never going to be a question on the ACT that says like, hey, what is the author's tone or something like that. So I actually do not care if you know the difference between these, if you use the same words, whatever. But what I want you to know is I kind of define these things as like the author's attitude. So the author's attitude toward the topic they're talking about will give you kind of a sense of tone and style kind of together. But you know, sometimes you'll be able to, if you can just think of a word in your head that describes, you know, I don't want to say tone or style because those are bad words, but like kind of the way in whatever you're reading is written. Like, sometimes it'll come out as super duper flowery and there's like elegant words and it feels like some Fitzgerald thing. Or sometimes it's really straightforward and there's like really not that much meat to it. It's just exactly what it means. So I think you need to identify those things because there are going to be questions where all 4 answer choices are grammatically correct, and it's going to want you to pick what makes the most sense that goes along with, what that passage is saying and what that author sounds like. And I think these can be some of the most challenging questions on the test, so that's why I spend a lot of time thinking about these ones. But if you have trouble with style and tone, I have a little thing that I do that I feel like will be really helpful. And I like to imagine when I start reading, I like to imagine that this author is standing in front of me telling me, rather than me reading it with like this little voice in my head, I'm having the author in front of me read everything to me. And I think that's super helpful just because you can see the mannerisms that the author might be using or like the tone of voice that they're using and how they're presenting stuff. So that'll really help you find that style and that tone. Yeah, so I would just keep an eye out for that. And then today, I really want to focus, once we are practicing, on 2 specific types of questions, which are called top-heavy questions and placement questions. I don't really care if you know that they're called that. That's just what the ACT calls them, but doesn't really matter. I just, eventually when we are practicing, I'm going to point out these 2 questions when we do get to them. Yeah, and these are 2 of the more challenging types of questions. I like to break them down kind of into 5 categories, and I would say these 2 are probably 1 and 2 in the most challenging. So we're going to talk a lot about these 2 today when they come up. Whenever they do come up, when I'm reading through the answers at the end of practice, we're going to go and, even if everybody got them right, I still want to talk about them a little bit. So whenever they do come up, we will discuss them together. Okay, I hope everybody's ready to practice. Okay. Can you guys grab this book? We used it last time I was here too, last week. Do you remember, did you watch the lecture online last time? Like, the YouTube video? Last week, did you? Can somebody on Zoom tell me which test we did last week? I feel like it was the practice test 2, but I cannot be sure. I have like a different book now. Does somebody online know? I think it's this one. Okay, can you guys online flip to page 328 and tell me if you guys have already done that one or not?
We have.
You
we
have?
Did that
okay,
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we did 3 passages last time, right? Is that right? Okay, do you guys have like question 46 and onward done, online people?
Yeah, we only did the first 3.
Okay, cool. So we'll start with question 46 this time. I'll give you guys your typical 9 minutes. I hope people are getting better at this pacing. Yeah, okay. Let's just go. You have 9 minutes and you can start now.
What page is this on?
Sorry. Okay, yeah. Restart. Just kidding. Don't start yet. 335 for anybody that doesn't know. We'll start on question 46 and we'll go through question 60. You'll have 9 minutes, usual. Is everyone good now? Does everyone know where we are? Sorry, I did not make that very clear. That's my bad. Okay, cool. I see thumbs up. That's probably good. Okay. You can start now. All right, and there's 9 minutes. Okay, let's go through our answer choices here. I'll start from question 46. 46 is J. 47 C. 48 F. 49 A. 50 G. 51 B. 52 J. 53 A. 54 G. 55 B. 56 J. 57 C. 58 F. 59 C. And 60 F. Okay, before we even go through questions and stuff, which we will, don't worry about it. So if you have one, hold on to it. I want to talk about my 2 questions here and then one of these rules that came up a bunch. First, let's talk about placement questions. That would be, the most obvious one is question number 51, is exactly what a placement question. I mean, this is my favorite kind, because normally what a placement question is it's going to say, hey, they're considering adding this sentence or this word. Where should they add this sentence or word in relation to the paragraph or whatever sentence? So a really important strategy is, let's say you have blah, 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 blah sentence. The author is considering adding this word. Every place it says, hey, before this word, okay, put a little caret there. And then maybe in the middle of the sentence, okay, put a caret there. And then put a caret there. It's really, really helpful. I know most of you can do it in your head, but it is so helpful to minimize mistakes when you can physically see where the word is going. So when you have a placement question, I think it's super helpful. Put little carets here. Try to, really imagine that word being there, and then reread the sentence a couple times with the new word being in each spot. And then, if you've done all this stuff, the answer becomes super obvious. It really blurts out where it's supposed to be. And then also question number 60 is a placement question, but it is a little bit of a different kind of question. This time it's adding a sentence in relation to the entire thing, and it's telling you where do we want to put it, and it wants to give you 4 different points. Now, again, this one, when you have a placement question like this, I like to read a couple of sentences around each point. So if it's like point A, okay, read the sentence before and after point A, or point B, before and after point B, and then try fitting that sentence in between, and you'll normally be able to tell, exactly where it was. I don't think this one was too challenging. Yeah, okay, so that is a placement question. And now, these top-heavy questions. To me, I think these are the most difficult questions, really, because they can be so against what you want to do. But your top-heavy questions, the 2 most obvious ones in this passage were 54 and 55. Both of those are top-heavy questions. And in general, what a top-heavy question is it's going to say, given that all the following are true, which of these alternatives accomplishes whatever goal? Which one introduces the paragraph best? Which one expands on this detail the most? It's going to give you something specific that it wants your alternative to do. Now, the most important thing, this is going to help you get so many more of these right, is whenever it says, which one of these introduces. If it says that word introduces, what it wants you to do, underline it. Whatever it says, underline it. So then, underline whatever commands it's giving you, that it wants it to be, introduce this, expand on this detail. Here on 54, which one provides the most specific information about how, these things served as, defensive position. So you want to underline that part because that's exactly what you're looking for. And the main tricky thing about top-heavy questions is that a lot of the times the correct answer goes against what you want to pick as an author, as a writer. You know, a lot of the times it makes sense stylistically to pick something else, but you have to really focus and just lock in on what the question is asking, which can be really hard because you want to pick the one that makes the most sense, but have to lock in only on what the question is asking. 55, again, it says, given that all the statements are true. Most effective transition. That's what I had underlined that time. Most effective transition. So that one's asking you which one most effectively transitions between. And then 59 is also a top-heavy question. It's asking you specifically which one of these completes the irony, not which one sounds best, which one functions best, because that's what I would want to pick, but it only cares about the irony. So even if one of the answer choices goes completely against the author's style and choice, with a top-heavy question, you pick what the question wants you to do. So that one, I mean, obviously is a fast food restaurant. Irony. Okay. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about this less is more, this economy rule. You can see it come up a lot in this passage. Like, for example, question 46, the first one. I mean, all of these technically are okay. I mean, walls intended to defend the city protectively. That's a lot of words. And it's kind of repeating. Intended to defend protectively, that kind of means the same thing. And even these other answer choices, walls to provide defensive protection, that's repetitive. Like all these things, technically all those are grammatically correct, but J is the most concise and the right answer, just because it's less stuff. So sometimes saying less words can actually mean a lot more, which hence the name. Same with question number 52. That's another one. That's on that next page. 3 of these answer choices give you all this transition stuff that they want to connect the last sentence to the next one. But in reality, 52's best answer is just J. It's really less is most of the time better. And then again with question 58 on that next page, this is another one where all of the answer choices are technically grammatically correct. All those, I guess, are okay. But 58, F is definitely the best answer just because it is the least stuff to look at. There's not like a whole lot of, like answer choice J here, a would be but not yet, is grammatically correct, but that sounds absolutely ridiculous. Like we don't want that. So there's 3 really good examples of that less is more rule up there. And so we got some placement questions, some top-heavy questions, all kinds of good stuff in this one. Does anybody have any that they missed that they want to talk about? You got any? I'll start with you since you're here.
Let's go with, I think it was number 60.
60?
I kind of narrowed it down to F and G.
Okay. That is good that you narrowed it down. Because C and D, I was going to say C and D are obviously wrong. Okay,
yeah.
Good. So, did you like put the sentence there and then read it through? Or like how did you know what I'm saying?
So I kind of went back to where it was and then I tried reading it
with the sentence in there?
The sentence in that position.
And you ended up picking G for there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Where's point B? There it is. I think the direct thing for me that made me pick F is just this 2 walls at the beginning that it's so specifically referring to like the 2 walls.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, I'm thinking that it had to have mentioned, before I even read anything, I'm thinking it had to mention these 2 walls of some sort in the sentence previous. Because if it hadn't, then this sentence seems like kind of out of place.
Right.
And then
could have just cut it down to the first
exactly.
sentence.
Exactly. So if you do go to point B, it just talks about the 11-kilometer wall encircled. And then that seems like it's 1 wall. And then right after that, the next sentence, if it were to say these 2 walls,
Mm-hmm.
do you see how that could be like
Yeah.
kind of confusing.
In a sense,
But
yeah, I kind of looked a little more abbreviated. And
Right.
Go back to these two.
Exactly. So, and then in point A, you can see like literally right before that, it's saying boasts two ancient walls that blah 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 blah, and then you could say the two walls in that new sentence. So do you see how that kind of like just slides in there a little bit better than G? But I'm glad you eliminated H and J because those are both bad. So that's a good start. And then yeah, just this one was a little technicality. But do you have anything else? Just that one?
Number 50.
50? You want to talk about 50? Where's number 50? Okay. What answer choice did you pick?
I put F.
F? Okay. This one, I know we haven't exactly talked about this rule, but this is the same as like funner. How like funner isn't a word. You can't say like more funner or more funnier, you know? Like so when you have something ending in IER or like ER really, never put more in front of it. Like you could say like this person is funnier than the other person, but you can't say this person is more funnier. You just have to say this person is more funny. So, in this one, every single one of them ends in this sturdier. So, for me, more sturdier just it can't be right. So then I eliminated H and F right away. So then I had much sturdier than, and then much sturdier than. And then, I mean, that's a whole different issue. I'm sure you understood that part, right? Why it's then and not then? Whoever asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because on the comparison.
Yep. Okay, good.
Also, yeah, so I just thought it would be, I was looking for just sturdier than, but then I couldn't find that, so I picked more sturdier
Right.
than.
Okay, yeah. I could see that would have been okay, but you'll never see more sturdier. Like that just will never happen. So it's the same with really anything else that has that ER ending. You won't see more something with an ER after.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else online? Okay, I'm gonna assume no then. Okay. Yeah, let's just go on to the next one then. We don't need to talk about anything else from here. Let's go on to that next passage. That would be page 337, if anybody doesn't have it. I'll give you your normal 9 minutes here, and then we'll come together and talk about them again. Okay, and you can start now.
Sorry, did you just say we're doing passage 5?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
there's 9 minutes. Am I unmuted? Okay, yeah. Okay. We'll start from question 61. I'll read you your answers here. 61 is C. 62 is G. 63 is C. 64 is F. 65 is B. 66 is F. 67 is A. 68 is H. 69 is D. 70 is J. 71 is A. 72 is J. 73 is D. 74 is J. And 75 is C. Okay, so before I open the floor, again, let's look at these top-heavy questions quick. I'm going to highlight those ones. 62 is a top-heavy question where which of the following would provide the most logical transition? That's what I had underlined, that most logical transition. And this one I would probably, obviously you would have already read the first paragraph, but this one I'm assuming you would want to skip the question, read the second paragraph, and then answer this so that you can really pick a proper transition between the first and second paragraphs. But yeah, this is another one of those top-heavy ones. And then also question number 70 on page 339, question number 70, is another top-heavy question where it starts with, as usual, given all the choices are accurate. This one says most effectively provides a transition into the next sentence. So this time you don't need to read the entire next paragraph, just that next sentence to pick, what's transitioning here. And this one, if you hadn't read that next sentence, it would be really difficult to choose really what was the right answer. So that's what makes these top-heavy questions so, weird that, you wouldn't think that answer is really the right one if you weren't to read, what exactly it wants from you. And then again, this economy rule and this less is more thing comes up again blatantly in this one too. Like, for example, question number 69. All those are grammatically correct, but and they're just kind of saying a lot of babble. Like the city's premier sailmaker in Philadelphia. Well, we just said the cities, so that's not good. Leading sailmaker in his native Philadelphia. Still bad because it says Philadelphia. All these are just, a lot of words to say a really little idea. So again, you want to pick the most concise one, which is D. And then again, in question number 73, it pops up again where I think this is funny when the test tries to do this stuff where, let's actually add this as a rule on the board. We're going to say never repeat. It is so annoying when you read something that just said something and then they repeat it exactly again. So on question 69, where it says a city's premier sailmaker, then there's no need to mention Philadelphia because we already pointed out that it's in the city. Or in question number 73, the Revolutionary War veteran who served in this war, we just said he's a Revolutionary War veteran, so we don't need to, say that again. So 73 is going to be D. It's the most concise and it doesn't repeat stuff, which some of the other ones really, really do. So, if you picked B or C, be ashamed because those ones totally go against our economy rule. So that's when I think you should really, really put to heart that economy rule that less stuff is most of the time better. Less words, less punctuation, whatever. Did we have a placement question yet? Oh, we did, yeah. Question number 74 was our placement question. That's another one we've been talking about here. I think this one was a little more challenging than the last one, but again, if you plugged in the sentence at each point, I think it would have been okay. Not crazy difficult. But yeah, those placement questions, again, I would recommend either, drawing your little carrots or, really going back and reading all those sentences all the way through. And then I also wanted to point out a little fun grammatical thing on 63. Again, on page 337, question number 63. There's a nice little thing that, this is one of those agreement things, where chance of surviving sounds really right. Chance of surviving. People do say that, chance of surviving, but after that it says were slim. So were, plural, we can't have chance of surviving because it's just singular. So if this had said was slim, then we would have chance. And this is tricky because people get caught up thinking that the question is asking, is the correct phrase chances of surviving or chance of surviving? Which technically you can say both, but it's dependent on the word. So this is nice because it reflects back on what we were doing last week with this agreement stuff, but yeah, okay. That's all I have, really. Do you guys have any that you missed here? Any questions on this one? You got anything? Nothing? Anybody online got some? Okay. That's probably good then. That means this passage probably went well. I want to quick mention question number 68 and question number 75. These are those ones where, would this essay accomplish this purpose? Or should this writer delete or keep the sentence? Stuff like this, where you have like yes or no. Again, I think I said this last week, but I'll make it clear one more time that you should pick yes or no or keep or delete first in your head before you even read the answer choices. And then just eliminate the other two. And then read the reasoning, because the ACT loves to be tricky with this reasoning. And will try to give you some really convincing wrong answers by giving really good reasoning, but the wrong, first word. So pick yes or no, or keep or delete first, and then worry about what comes next. What are we at for time here? Are we almost out?
55.
Yeah, okay. So we're not gonna have time to do another one. Oh yeah, okay. So before we go, well, I'll let you out in like a couple minutes here, but one last thing. I really want to make sure that you guys are practicing English somehow, because there's no way to be good at this part of the test if you're not practicing somehow. So that means obviously what we just did right now, where we went through, we picked two different hard kinds of questions and we specifically focused on those ones, is a really good way to practice. And another really nice thing is that cheat sheet we made. Obviously you can keep studying that. But in general, just reading, speaking stuff, it's all good. So keep thinking about these kind of rules, keep thinking about that grammar, keep thinking about your punctuation, and just try to keep it involved. At least let it take up some of your brain space so that on test day, all this stuff is going to be like second nature by then. So yeah, I just want to make sure, keep English in your mind when you're doing stuff. And thank you guys for coming and asking questions and being good. Okay. You guys are free to go. We will see you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.